and that was the only way for that seed to grow. And that's where the discomfort comes in, because with the girls that I have right now recently, we've started I started teaching them how to be comfortable in areas where you feel like you are swamped, in areas where you feel like you are in a dark space, or you being refined, in areas where you feel like there's no room to breathe, because that's where miracles happen. That's where greatness happens. When you're so squeezed to a point where the only thing that you can do is stretch out, that's where greatness happens. So that's what our mission is all about, saying growth is continuous. So that means that we need to learn to be comfortable anyway. Growth is a lifetime. I don't think anyone is going to get to a point where they're like, I'm done growing. This is the end of my growth period. I'm done. So it became our mission when I understood that growth is continuous and will forever happen. So the only way to help us overcome this discomfort and to go above that anxiety is to say, let us just be comfortable in saying this is how we're always going to be. Because every single time you start something, every single time you go on a journey on something, you are going to be uncomfortable.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Podcast. You're here because you believe that you too have been called to build and live an impactful life. Right, this episode guest is known as the founder of a recently launched platform by the name of Enlighten Me Women, with a mission to ensure that in every single sphere of their lives, women learn to be comfortable in discomfort, that they continuously challenge themselves and others to be and do better. And most importantly, what they do is love. At the age of 22, she recently just finished a degree in Bachelor's of Commerce and majors with a majors in corporate finance and investment, as well as economic sciences from Wits University. Amo, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leaders Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Umpo.
Now, Amo, we both know that it like these past few weeks have been quite interesting for you as a person, but also moreover for your organization. You launched your organization about a week ago. I think just to start us off, talk to me about what made you decide to launch it now. And moreover, what I thought would be interesting, talk to me more about what are some of the personal experiences that compelled you to launch this organization.
Thank you so much for the question, Umpo. I think I'll start with the second question of what compelled me to start this. From my experience, I basically had a distorted view of myself. I actually had a negative self-image. To put it quite frank and be honest about it is I didn't know who I was. And to add more depth to that statement is I didn't know that I didn't know. So I wasn't even aware that I didn't know who I was. And because of that, it allowed me to live a life where I believed I knew, but as a matter of fact, I didn't know. And that made me compare myself to a lot of females. It made me look down upon myself and disregard who I am, mainly because I didn't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know. And through my interactions with other females, I got to hear how they speak about themselves. I got to hear how they speak about other women. It's not easy for women to celebrate each other. It's not easy for women to embrace one another without looking down on themselves. And as I was doing further research on that, I was wondering, why is it so hard to celebrate another female? Why is it so hard to look up to someone and just simply congratulate them for who they are? And then I realized that it is that problem of lack of self-awareness that I didn't have. And to go further about it, I stood down and thought about my life and saying, this is not how life should be. We're not meant to be looking at each other in a sense of trying to fight each other or trying to compete with each other, but in essence, we're here to live in harmony. We're here to coexist. Otherwise, God would have created only one human being. But as a matter of fact, He created all of us. So Enlighten Me stemmed from the fact of the lack of self-awareness that I had, and that's where the name comes from. Because for me to be enlightened, that's when I actually got to unpack and get to understand who I am as a human being. And I got to realize that other women need to be enlightened as well. And that's where the creativity around the name stemmed from, like I said, because to enlighten someone is to give them knowledge of what they didn't know before and to bring them to a world that they didn't know existed. So this for me was a passion project, or like I said, a purpose project for me to help other women to live in unison and to be able to know who they are, because it is knowing your worth that you're able to live up to that, and you're able to see other people's worth. Sorry, Mimi. It's in seeing other people's worth and being able to celebrate them for who they are. So that's where the project came in, or the organization started.
Mm-hmm.
And the Enlighten Me actually started last year in September. It was only publicized a week ago. And to answer your question of why now, I would say, why not now? Because we're in a season of lockdown and people are like feeling limited and feeling like there's nothing that they can do in the season. And for me, I was proving it to myself and sending a message to the world to show them that you have everything that you need where you are. Sometimes you make excuses about how we are limited, how if things were not the way they are, you would have done something. But this was just to show me and to show the world that you have everything that you need to start what it is that is within you. So Enlighten Me started a week ago, just to say, why not now? Why do I have to wait? There is no perfect time, and the perfect time is actually now, because people are home, people are spending time with themselves, people are basically in a space where they are only finding out about who they are today. So I believe that it is the perfect time to show women, to interact with women, and actually help women heal, or help women interact with each other on a more positive level. And that's why Enlighten Me started a week ago.
Quite deep. Talk to me about, you spoke about how you didn't know. What did that process, walk me through the process of your enlightenment. What were some of the things that allowed you to see the light? I'm thinking to anybody who might be watching this episode, I find it interesting, but their question might be, how did you go about enlightenment? What did it look like? Did it mean a radical change in environment, radical change in friends? What were some of the things that made it easier for you along this journey of enlightenment?
My journey was actually not easy, like anybody's journey, because when you think you know, or when you don't know that you know, it's actually harder to accept that there is another path, or there's another way for you to live by. So my enlightenment journey started when I met my life coach, Coach T, who basically believed in what I didn't know existed. So it was someone else who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, who basically walked through this journey with me, who basically taught me about some things that I didn't even understand existed within my own capacity. And it is in spending time with God, spending time in the Holy Spirit, getting to understand from that point of view, who am I? Because I stem from who He is. The word says, seek first His kingdom and the rest will be added unto you. So it is in me seeking in Him that I found myself. It's not an easy journey, because self-discovery is a lifelong journey. So I am still in that journey of enlightenment, but I got to understand my identity in Christ. I got to understand my worth, and I got to understand who I am as a human being. So I would say it started when I met my life coach, and as I started reading more books about purpose, as I started reading more, listening to more podcasts about purpose, and actually watching more videos that are related to what I was struggling with. So it was me being intentional about actually helping myself, actually finding out more about who I am, and being proactive in my journey to self-discovery.
To ensure that in every sphere of their lives, women challenge themselves to be comfortable in discomfort, that they continuously challenge themselves to be and do better than others, and most importantly, that they grasp this concept of love. What I understand that this is your organizational mission, which I think encapsulates a lot of the core values of organization. Talk to me more about what this means for your organization and how you plan to bring this mission to fruition through the work that you're doing.
So to learn to be comfortable in the discomfort comes from the fact that growth only happens in uncomfortable spaces. When you think about a tree, for it to have grown to be that tree, it was once a seed. And for that seed to grow, it was asked, or you had to plant it and put it in a confined space, a dark area where there is no breathing space for it. And that was the only way for that seed to grow. And that's where the discomfort comes in, because with the girls that I have right now recently, we've started I started teaching them how to be comfortable in areas where you feel like you are swamped, in areas where you feel like you are in a dark space, or you being refined, in areas where you feel like there's no room to breathe, because that's where miracles happen. That's where greatness happens. When you're so squeezed to a point where the only thing that you can do is stretch out, that's where greatness happens. So that's what our mission is all about, saying growth is continuous. So that means that we need to learn to be comfortable anyway. Growth is a lifetime. I don't think anyone is going to get to a point where they're like, I'm done growing. This is the end of my growth period. I'm done. So it became our mission when I understood that growth is continuous and it will forever happen. So the only way to help us overcome this discomfort and to go above that anxiety is to say, let us just be comfortable in saying this is how we're always going to be. Because every single time you start something, every single time you go on a journey on something, you are going to be uncomfortable. So it's just like saying, how about we just become uncomfortable with these tough situations? And by challenging ourselves, that's where we get to be uncomfortable. So we're saying we're challenging each other and ourselves to be better and do better. And like I said, I didn't know who I was, and I believe that other people are not still yet sure who they are. So it is through this interactions that we have with each other as females to understand and get to see other things that we didn't know about. So it isn't knowing more and knowing better that you can be able to do better. So as soon as you understand that what you were doing or the life that you were living was not the life that you thought it was, you start doing better and you start challenging yourself to live a better life. So we're challenging each other and we're challenging ourselves to live a much more better lives, to live much more better lives, sorry. And we're doing it in love, because every single thing that is done in love, is done well. If you're planning on growing, if you're planning on helping each other, when we help each other from a place of love, we're able to grace each other, we're able to have mercy on one another and patience for each other, so that we understand that growth is not a linear path, but it's something that is it takes for all of us, it is a very different path. So I don't expect my growth journey to look like yours. So it is only in doing it in love and understanding that you and I are different, and you and I are going to interact in a different way, but in a space of love. So that's why we're doing everything that we're doing in love.
Talking about love, I know that you've got this notion of love at the core of your organization. Talk to me about what love means to you, and what is love?
Quite a deep question, Umpo. Love is everything. In a sense of our core existence is based on love. What I mean by this is we were created out of love, and we still continue to live because of love. So for me, love is pure. It's being able to look at someone and see them for who they are and not what they do. Is being able to look at something and see beyond the flaws, to see beyond what the natural eye can see, but seeing within that thing and saying there's something deeper with this human being. Because a lot of people operate from the fact that what people do is who they are. But what love says is that there is something about that person that we don't see. So most important, what people do when they operate is we believe that what they do is who they are, like I said, but it's not necessarily who they are. So for me, love is pure. Love is the answer basically to society, because like I said, it is the core of our existence, and it is us in operating in love that we're able to do all things well, like the missions, like I just said about the mission, we do all things well in love. Like the Bible says, we are commanded to do all things in love, because that's when you're able to do things wholeheartedly. That's when you're able to do things without judgment. So love for me is serving unconditionally, and serving without asking for something to be given back to you. So it's just giving your whole self to something without thinking about something that's coming after that.
But what I really love about your response and the work that your organization is doing is that through love, I think you resonate a lot of things, in the sense of community that you're trying to build. And moreover, it kind of reaffirms the saying that says that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And what I'm getting from that is that by understanding that as human beings, that first by us being humans, that we must first love, that we are able to build that sense of community and be much more relational to those close to us. I really found that quite interesting. Now, one of the most impactful things I really found while researching you is that your first organizational value is growth, in which you elaborated it as what doesn't grow dies. Talk to me about why this is important. And moreover, given the type of community that you're trying to build, why would you say this is an important value?
I live by that concept, that what doesn't grow dies, based on a personal experience. But to divert a bit, just to add on to that, is we had a lemon tree at my house, and recently it got cut off. And when I asked why, the answer was it was not bearing fruit anymore. So I got to understand that it was dying, because there were no leaves anymore, there was no lemon anymore, and it was cut off. So basically, it died. And that's when I got to understand that what doesn't grow dies. So, from my own personal experience, to get more deeper, I was living a life, like I said, where I didn't know who I was. And I basically was not growing. Yes, physically I was, well, not that much, but physically I was growing. And emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, I would say I was in ICU. And I wasn't aware, because I wasn't really nourishing or taking care of those elements that are unseen. And I just lived my life continuously thinking that I'm fine. But what the Bible says is that everything will be brought to light. So when I thought that it's still hidden, I can put a front to it. And like many people do, they put on a front in their lives, walking around like everything is fine, or they have everything under control. One particular day, I sat down and started questioning my existence, and started asking myself, why am I here? And that, I didn't have an answer to that. I just didn't know. I just said, I don't know why I'm here, so I don't actually belong here. And that's when I realized that death happened, because it was in me not growing spiritually, in me not growing emotionally, that there was no function anymore in that experience. So that's when I realized that because those areas were not growing, I didn't see any use in them. There was no life. It just ended. It was just stagnant to a point where there was no life or fruits coming from them. So I realized it wasn't growing. So it died. So I had to pluck out all those seeds, pluck out all those weeds that had grown from that area that was dying, and plant new seeds that bear fruit, that were growing. And that's when I started taking care of my mental health, my emotional health, and my spiritual well-being, in a sense of saying, I need to ensure that I'm constantly growing. I need to ensure that I'm constantly keeping myself sane. Because the moment I move away from that, death comes in my mind, and it will come to life when I start questioning, am I really supposed to be here? And with the organization, what we're doing is we're putting that to the forefront, and ensuring that every woman who's a member currently ensures that, and are conscious about the growth that is happening in their lives. Because if you don't take care of something, it will take care of you, in a sense of, in a sense of, it will come and control you and become toxic, where it was supposed to be something that helps you elevate, or something that was going to help you evolve in life to be who you're meant to be. So we're putting that to the forefront, saying we need to ensure that we grow. We need to ensure that we actually analyze and assess our growth areas, because my relationship with God at the beginning of this year and my relationship with God at the beginning of next year shouldn't be the same, because I need to ensure that there's constant growth. And the way I'm thinking last year should not be the same way that I'm thinking today, because I need to ensure that there's constant growth. Otherwise, if stagnation hits, I'm going to find myself in ICU again, and I'm going to find myself in the deathbed again, and have to start all over again with the process. So I stand and live by that principle of saying, what doesn't grow dies, because everything will be cut off that doesn't bear fruit.
Just to quickly unpack that, you spoke about how subsequent to your growth, you went through this process of unplugging the weeds, as you described it.
Yes.
Can you talk about what are some of the things you use to detox that you think people can implement that will really help them to go through that process?
Okay, I started off with writing down positive affirmations about myself. So those were things that actually started helping me. So I would recite these positive affirmations every morning and every evening before I went to bed. It was something that was quite uncomfortable in the beginning, because I didn't believe any of it. So I was just like, what am I saying to myself? I don't know what I'm saying. But as time went on, as I started being more conscious about my words and how I'm doing it, it became something that became a part of who I am. So now when I look at myself in the mirror and I say I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I truly do believe that. And the other thing that I started doing is actually reading books that are aligned with what I am going through, reading books that are helpful or around the topic that I'm actually dealing with. So if it's healing, I read a book about healing. If it's something that comparison, for example, if it was comparison, I read books around that area. Or I consult with someone, like I said, my life coach helped me a lot through this whole experience and other support structures that I had. So I would say being, like I said in the beginning, proactive about your journey, understanding what it is that you is wrong, understanding what it is that you need to solve, because you can't solve something that you don't know. So accept the problem first and be able to be conscious and aware of what it is that you're going through before you start implementing the solutions to it. So I would say just start first by saying what it is that am I struggling with, and how can I solve this. So start first with what it is, and then you can start going to the actions that it can be taken from there.
What I really love about your answer is that you kind of tie in how the first step is admitting that this is the
Yes.
situation. Basically being aware of what some call blind spots or what some call ignorance, and admitting that this is the state I'm in, and then taking action steps to help you get out of that, plucking out the weeds. I think also much more, I'm a true firm believer of personal positive affirmations, because I think a lot of the times we try to think about how do we bulletproof ourselves, right, as people who are out of our circumstances. What can we do that will really change the way we view ourselves? But also much more what I found quite interesting with personal affirmations is that they kind of delve into your subconscious and really start changing the hardware of how you view yourself.
True.
Let's talk more about impact. From my understanding, you currently run weekly calls with this community
Yes.
of sisters where you guys meet once a week. Help me understand what is the preparation that goes into these calls, and what are some of the issues actually discussed in these calls?
So the preparation behind these calls is a lot of research and a lot of reading. And to top it all off, it's personal experiences. So from my own life, what I do is when I go through something or when something happens, I fish out the lesson in it, because I believe that nothing just happens for no apparent reason. So I spent most of my time last year just writing down lessons that I've learned across my whole life. And when I realized that this was packing up, I was just like, this can be something that helps somebody, because if I have these lessons for me, I don't think it was meant to just be for me, because I believe that I'm not the only one who goes through what I go through. So a lot of people are going through it, but in silence. So what the preparation also includes reading particular topics, books. I'm currently reading The Power and Purpose of Women, because again, it's a group of women. So I need to understand what the purpose is of women. I can't be speaking about women if I don't understand. So that's my current read. And I have been inspired a lot. I have gained so much information throughout these past 2 years. So I figured that I might as well just put it to good use, because my life coach normally says, if you learn something, then what now? Like, you just found out something, what now? So this was my what now, and saying, okay, fine, I'll start preparing I started last year preparing for these, and now all I do is just fix it up and send all the girls documents before the Saturday call. So I send them every Wednesday. So I send them documents that they can read through and questions to answer, so that they can prepare on Saturday for the session that we have. And the topics that we have covered recently they involve topic around purpose, because it is in being self-aware that you find freedom in life. So it's in women understanding who they are and what they carry within them, and understanding that each and every single one of them carries light. So the topics that I've covered, it is self-discovery, it's processing, and it's also time, because a lot of people don't understand the concept around time. So these are the kind of topics that we talk about, and real issues that involve comparison, anxiety, self-doubt, and self-limitations. So these are things that we're going to get to in the future basis. But for now, we've been dealing with personal development as in purpose, processing, and time, basically.
talk to me more about time in specific. Can you unpack?
Time.
Let's talk about time.
So with time, I was speaking about basically the past, the present, and the future. So understanding those three concepts and understanding where we are. So I was just teaching the girls about being in the present moment and healing from the past and detaching yourself from the future, because we oftentimes go around in both realms. We often live in the past, and because of the past pains, we carry them to our present moment, and we don't normally get to live our present moment fully because we're carrying the past pains that we have, the regrets that we have, and things that already have happened. So I brought back that topic of healing so that they can be able to let go and be able to be where they are right now and fully be who they truly are meant to be in this moment. So that's the concept around time.
Thank you so much, Amo.
You're
To
welcome.
any girl listening to this podcast with an interest to join your community of sisters, how do they go about it?
So we haven't yet opened the applications for new members. Well, the tab is there on the website, but we haven't really announced the new members coming in. But what I can say is they can check out our Instagram pages, because for the next upcoming weeks, we are going to be opening up that poll. We're only taking in 8 new members because we believe in gradual growth, because exponential growth may not be sustainable. And because our interactions are quite personal, we need to be able to interact with all the females. So if we have a large group in the first take, it won't be more intimate. So it is being intimate. So the whole purpose of this community is saying we need to build relationships that are sustainable, and we need to be able to speak to each other, because a lot of females do have friends that they can't talk to. So now we are questioning that whole topic about friends. So who is a friend? What is a friend? Do you understand? So we're taking in 8 new members for the gradual growth and for the personal experience for the females. But like I said, they should check out the Instagram pages for the upcoming announcements.
On that note, what would you say is your message to the world?
Whew. Okay. My message to the world is you are everything that you think someone else is. You are everything that you're looking for. And it doesn't really matter what you're not, but what really matters is what you are and who you are. So we all carry a treasure chest. So I believe that it's time for you to unlock that treasure. Because sometimes you find yourself still wandering around the world, searching for things which are within you. So go down and dig down in your treasure chest. You might find something that is going to shock you. And one last thing is to look up. Sometimes looking up is the best thing that will bring you joy. And that's my message to the world.
Wow, thank you so much, Amo. How do you think our listeners and our viewers can stay in touch with you and the work that you're doing?
They can follow us on Instagram at Enlighten Me Women, or follow me on Instagram at Amogelang Mangole. And they can check out our website at www.enlightenmewomen.co.za. And yes, that's basically how you can find us so far.
Yeah. Amo, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leaders Podcast. I really think that to any young girl, or specifically any young woman who might be listening to this podcast or will be listening to this podcast, we really find some of the key things that you shared about knowing yourself, self-worth, knowing who you are, and the ideas of purpose. Because I really think that topics such as purpose are often by their nature quite intangible, and a lot of people try to run away from them because that you struggle to quantify. So I really find it quite fruitful that you talk about that, and I really hope that going forward that you have a prosperous journey with the organization.
Thank you so much, Umpo, and thank you for inviting me to this platform.
All right, there you have it from Amogelang Mangole herself. Guys, go check what this young leader is about. Go check out our social media pages. We'll be sharing the link to our website on our comments below. Once again, here at the Leaders Podcast, we believe that as more and more young people grow conscious of their unique pearl, as they discover their hidden purpose, they essentially add value to society in the only way they can. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and share with any other 30 people who you think will find this episode quite valuable. Until next time, thank you.